Being on camera for the first time can be a daunting experience, but to make your experience as pleasant as possible, here are some tips to help you and the crew through the process. Before your shoot, you'll normally be provided with some questions or topics which are up for discussion. In a piece to camera, you might even be provided a script to read from, and for those of you who haven't spent much time on camera, and even those who have, this can be a very nerve-wracking experience. Preparation is key, but one of the most common mistakes I see people make is being over-prepared. And what I mean by this is that you don't need to go to the extent of scripting out what you're going to say and trying to memorize it, because when you're on camera, the audience is looking directly at your face, and every time you pause to remember your line or even think about it in your head, this makes your performance feel less authentic. The audience will see this. This is especially the case when you're doing a piece to camera like I am right now. To combat this, try come out with touch points for each question or topic and practice it with your friend or reading them out to yourself in different ways that will make you feel more confident about talking about the subject and the way you articulate it. Now, clothing is a big one, and for a couple of reasons. The first example is about who you're representing. As an individual, you might like to wear tank tops, necklaces, chokers, bangles, show off your tattoos, or whatever the case may be. And although society is very accepting of this these days, and especially about individuality, it may not align with your organization's clothing policy or be of a professional standard that you'd expect for the video you're about to feature in. So, firstly, make sure that you're dressed for the occasion, and if you're unsure, ask about it. Now, onto clothing choices. Please do not wear anything that has stripes or patterns of any kind if you can avoid it. This can create what's known as a moire effect in the final video, and it looks like this, and this is not what we want. Bright single colors are great, but make sure they're not the same color as your background, otherwise this might happen. Also, on this, try not to wear anything branded unless it's the company that you're representing. Copyright is a real thing, and it can take hours to blur out an Adidas logo on a shirt, and it will look rubbish as well. The pearl necklace that your mother gave you for your birthday might look great, but it doesn't sound great. The tiny clanging sound of metal chains, stones, pearls tapping together on your necklace or bangle can be heard pretty clearly when there's a little lav mic right next to them. So it's best to avoid wearing any sort of jewelry altogether. Also, try not to wear clothing that rustles together, like plasticky snow jackets. If you don't have a hair and makeup artist handy for your production, remember to bring a brush or a comb and some hair product that you can use to make yourself look as best you can before your on-camera experience. If you're a person who normally wears makeup, try not to wear anything that has a shine on it. Translucent powder is great for this. Also, try not to use any shiny lipsticks. A simple lip balm is probably all you need, especially as your lips and mouth might get a little bit dry during your takes. Nervous sweats are a thing. A dry towel or blotting tissue is great for this, and of course the general consideration here is to look as natural and as authentic as possible. We are not here to make you look bad. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So please take note of any suggestions that come up before or during your time on camera. When filming, we are using lighting, cameras, and microphones to capture what you say. Here's what this looks like.
I'm Jeff Powell, I'm the curator here at Cobb & Co Museum in Toowoomba.
And here's what it looks like on the set. We've got our FX9 and A7 IV here. They both have Fujinon MK cinema lenses, which are both Super 35. We've got our Atomos monitors here, some aperture key light, side light, backlight, Sennheiser lav and a Sennheiser boom here. It can be a bit overwhelming, but be assured that we're there to make the process as smooth as possible. Being on camera can affect people negatively in a certain few ways. One of those ways is simply freezing up. The other way is to start uncontrollable movements. It might be fidgeting with your hands, swaying left and right, using your tippy toes, jumping up and down. It's generally acceptable to express yourself with your hands, and this is a good way to keep them busy. But when they're not in use, simply put them together and have them by your waist-side. Front or back, it doesn't matter. If you're getting stiff or starting to sway around, give yourself a break and start to shake around and loosen yourself up, get your sillies out. This will help you remove your nervous energy and focus on the conversation. Make sure you breathe. It's a pretty common thing for people on camera to cram as much as they can in for every single breath, which not only affects the pacing of the interview, but also how much information is usable between cuts. It's unnecessary to talk too fast and will likely cause errors when your thinking brain can't keep up with it all. So try to make sure to breathe normally as much as you can. Keep some water with you for when your mouth dries up, and take it easy. In an interview, make sure you're always maintaining eye contact with the person who's interviewing you. There might be a handful of other people around, cameras, lights, microphones, but you're there to essentially have a discussion with the interviewer to pull out specific information that will be used for the video. Again, the cameras and crew are only there to make you look as best as you can, so try to block them out and focus on the discussion at hand. Before and after your take, try to maintain your eyesight directed towards the interviewer rather than off to the director, friend, or a camera. This happens quite often as people are seeking approval after their take to make sure it was okay or correct. Now, when you're presenting to camera, this again can get people really nervous, but try your best to think about who's going to be watching the video and how you're talking to them. Look straight down the lens or the teleprompter for a few moments before your take and give yourself a bit of a smile before you begin your lines. After your take, remain looking into the camera for a moment before directing your eyes towards anybody else. This allows the editor some time to create smoother transitions between content. Lastly, we're going to talk about how to answer the questions effectively. In almost all videos, the interviewer's questions are removed from the edit completely, and it's left telling your side of the story. So, for example, if somebody has a short-ended question like, how old were you when you discovered your passion for music? We don't want to just hear the answer of 12, because as an editor, you can't just use a clip of you saying 12. We'd rather you respond in a full sentence, such as, I was about 12 when I first discovered my passion for music. Another example of this is your name and title. Don't just respond with Bob Jones, director. Try something along the lines of, my name is Bob Jones, I'm the regional director of XYZ Management Company. So please, try to incorporate the question into your responses and definitely elaborate on your experiences. Your interviewer might ask you the same question multiple times in the same or slightly different ways. Don't take it personally, they're just looking for a different response to the way you said it the first time, and it will likely fit better in the edit. Another important part of being in an interview is trying not to talk over each other. Leave a small pause before and after your answer while maintaining eye contact with the interviewer. If you mess up a sentence, just keep going. There's opportunity to use your sections of your responses, but try not to ramble on. Lastly, understanding your role in the video will help get the pacing and the response time the production is looking for. A short video might require your answers to be direct and specific, while a long-form documentary might invite longer responses that lead on to further experiences. And there you have it, our top tips for being interviewed on camera.